What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as J Monster, and thank you for joining me for another third Age Reforged battle. Today I have a 3-on-3 siege for you on the Osgiliath map. So let's take a look at the army compositions, and then we can jump right into the battle. The first army is being commanded by Salvones Victavish Esquire, and it is the Sylvan Elves. He has brought 3 units of Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen, which he has put on his towers. He's also got, right here, a couple of units of the Sindar Blade Masters. These guys recently got buffed in the .8 patch, and they are a lot stronger than what they used to be, and they were always very strong, so that says a lot. He's also brought 2 units of the Elder Royal Guard, very good archers, 1 unit of the Elder Royal Council, and 1 unit of Sindar archers. These are 2 HP archers, very good, and this is where he has hidden his generals. You can see Thranduil himself commanding the Sylvan Elves in this battle. He's also brought 1 unit of the Elder Palace Guard, and these guys are amazing. Some of the best heavy infantry in the game. It is always worth it to bring them. They will always serve you well. He's also brought 1 unit of the Elder Pathfinders. I love to see people bring counter cav as the attackers in siege battles, because sometimes the defenders will rush you with their cavalry, and if you're not prepared, they will deal a lot of damage to your army before you even get to the walls. He also has 3 units of Hiri lying here, manning his ladders, and 1 catapult over here in the center. The next player we're going to look at is the High Elves, and they're being commanded by Balin. He has 1 catapult unit. He's got 3 Elder Rinway Swordsman unit, who I believe are all on his towers as well, which is a really good idea because they are armor-piercing shock troops, essentially, so they're great for establishing a beachhead that you can pour more of your troops in later into the battle when you decide that it's prudent. He's also bought 3 units of the Eldar Spearmen, and a whopping 4 units of Mithlon Nobles, so he's got some really powerful heavy infantry in his force. He's got 1 unit of the Smiths of Eregion, some of the best heavy infantry in the game as well. He's also got 1 unit of the Norturno Archers and 3 units of the Eldar Rinway Archers. And back here, in behind the defenders' lines, so the defenders are surrounded, very contained in the western half of Osgiliath, we have the Gondor player, and this is being commanded by Anamelin. And he's got 4 units of the Citadel Guard Spearmen. You can see 2 of them right here on his rams. Very common strategy is to use kind of a throwaway unit to get your rams to the gates, so that if you take a lot of casualties in this unit, from archers and such on the wall, then it's really no big loss to your army. He's also brought 2 units of the Tirithera Wardens, 2 Athelian Rangers. Well, that's just more of his Citadel Guard. Like I said, he has quite a lot of it. He's got 2 units of Haven Guard. Again, more shock troops on the siege towers. Very good strategy. He's also got, that's more. See, he's got a lot of Citadel Guard. He's got 1 unit of the Tirithera Marksmen, and I believe 2 to 3 units of the Wardens of the White Tower. Very excellent heavy infantry, good for pushing choke points, and they also make really good line infantry since they have 2 HP. And he's also got 2 units of the Dismounted Swan Knights, and I think he's got a Trebuchet hiding around here somewhere, although I'm not too sure where he's put it. Aha, here it is. So he's also got a Trebuchet. And so that's it. That's the attacking and defending forces. So let's get right into the battle. So we're going to get started off here. It looks like the Sylvan Elf player is going to start moving his artillery forward, which is a really good idea. So let's take a look at the deployment here. You can see a lot of archers on this wall because the defenders are so condensed. It looks like they've opted to defend most of this section, although this area right here is quite open. But they have deployed basically in response to the attackers' deployment, because when you're playing the siege battles, you do get to see where the defenders or the attackers deploy first, so you can respond accordingly. But their forces here are spread very, very thin. This is a very long line, and there is a lot of heavy infantry on the other side, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Harad and Rune forces, who do have a lot of light infantry, kind of manage to stave off all of these heavy troops. They're really going to have to rely on the dwarves in a lot of ways. Oh yeah, I think we missed one of the dwarven units here. He does have a unit of Khazad-dûm Reclaimers. That's my bad. They're like, they throw axes and they have 2-handed axes. They're really good heavy infantry and really good armor piercing. Because, as I was saying, it's going to be difficult, I think, for the defenders to hold this entire wall, because they are spread a little bit thin at the moment, and they do have a lot of light infantry. Oh dear, you can see this wall starting to go down. You don't want to lose your Hashari shadows to this wall collapsing. So the Harad player here, Joe Sheridan, is really going to want to pull back these Hashari shadows off the wall, or he's going to lose a very elite, very powerful unit to what is essentially a micro mistake. Oh no, and we can see a large number of these shadows going down. It looks like he lost 11. That is a huge loss. That is an 1/8 of the unit right there. That is not how you want to lose these very elite units. But if you look over here, it looks like the defenders rather are going to be very aggressive with their cav. I like to see this. The defenders are not always prepared for this, although This time, Sawbones McTavish knew what he was doing. He brought some Elder Pathfinders, so it's not going to be just a clean sweep for these cavalry forces. He's going to have to tie down those Pathfinders so that he can bring his cav into the attacking army here and get some really easy kills. A good target would be a lot of these archers. They are lined up and not in loose formation, so if he gets a nice cav charge into the front of them, he could very well annihilate 3/4 of the unit very quickly. But it looks like the Sylvan Elf player sees what's going on, so he's going to respond in kind with his Elder Pathfinders, and he's going to focus down this cav with a lot of his archers. This is very dangerous for these guys, so they got to be very careful about how they use their cav here. It looks like the Herod player might be supporting them as well with some of his South Front Lancers. Yeah, it looks like he is. So the defending players, rather, looks like they want to focus on the Sylvan Elves. Try and... oh, look at this. So he's drawing away Sawbones McTavish's cav with his 2 units of Cataphracts. This is a very juicy looking target. They're going to... So the Sylvan Elves player is going to want to focus on them. You'll see some of the Cataphracts beginning to go down to that arrow fire. But at the same time, the Herod player being very sneaky, bringing in his Lancers, and it looks like they're going to get a really nice charge here. I don't think Sawbones McTavish has realized what's happening, or he just isn't able to respond in time, but it looks like these guys are going to get in to those archers. So these Elder Royal Guard, they might take a ton of casualties right here. Looks like Sawbones McTavish does see what's going on, so he's going to try and fall back. He's got some archers back here who can cover the retreat. This is pretty decent deployment. So it looks like, yeah, those Elder Royal Guard are going to get away, and the only thing standing in the way right now are a lot of really powerful Sylvan Elf units. Oh, they're just going to go for it. They're going to charge right in. Look at this, into the back of those Elder Royal Guard. Oh, wow, so many of them going down. That was a beautiful charge. But these South Front Lancers are going to break. That's all I think we're going to see from them in this battle. They did charge right into the heart of the enemy army. So he did lose a lot of archers here, but he did a good job at cutting off the retreat from just about every angle. So those South Front Lancers got cut up, but I think that they more than paid for themselves by taking down that unit of Elder Royal Guard. That is a pretty decent trade-off. I think I would take that just about any day. And in the meantime, you can see a lot of bow fire coming off of those walls into these bunched up Sylvan Elf troops. So they are taking a little bit of damage from the archers on the walls. But it looks like over here, this wall about to collapse. But let's before we do that, let's take a look at the cavalry over here. It looks like the Runic Cavalry managed to... Oh my goodness, they caught those Pathfinders out, and they are cutting them up. So the Sylvan Elves have lost their cavalry here. Looks like they've just been bled by archers all the way along the wall. Really good play on the part of the Rune player here. He looks like he suckered them into a trap and gave his ally the opportunity that they needed to get into the Sylvan Elf army. So a lot of really great teamwork from the defending forces here. I really like it. I love how aggressive that they're being with their cav. This is absolutely worth it, especially look at this. These isolated high elf forces, easy prey for these runic cataphracts, especially now that the Sylvan Elf cavalry is gone and none of the other defenders on this side have brought any cav to counter them. Really all they're going to be able to do is try and focus these guys down with their archers. But while they're focusing on a single target, you've got another one coming over here, coming in for the kill. This is going to be a really tough situation for the high elven player. Let's see if the runic player is going to go for these isolated troops here. I think he's going to go for the archers. That's a really smart play. Axeman of Erebor really showing that he knows what he's doing. Look at this. He's going to collide with both of those units. This is going to be huge. They're all in close formation. Oh, wow. That is beautiful. That is a wonderful charge here. They're really doing a lot of damage to the attacking forces right off the bat. And really all they're losing is some cavalry. This is where their cavalry is strongest. Out here in the field. Not so useful in... Oh, looks like Balin has brought some Sindar Blade Masters. I don't think I saw those. They might have been hiding. But the defenders are taking a lot of casualties, and these are units that they are going to need inside the city. But honestly, these are throwaway units for the defenders. They're not going to get a ton of use out of their cav in the narrow streets of Osgiliath, so they're doing a really good job using these units to their full effectiveness. It looks like he's going to get away from those archers, charge into some of these Mythlon nobles who are... Oh, no. Looks like he's going to think better of it. Going to get away from them. I think this would have been an okay target. Infantry countercharging cavalry who managed to drop their lances are going to take a ton of casualties in return. He might have been able to wipe out about half of a heavy infantry unit, which would have been a really, really big deal for the defending forces. But at the moment, he's kind of a little bit indecisive here. Doesn't know quite what he wants to do with his cav, and they are taking a lot of damage in return from these archers here. Balin really wants revenge for the assault on his Elder Runway archers over there, so he is focusing down these cav, and they've taken so many casualties at this point. There's really not a whole lot that they can do with his cavalry unit now. They're so depleted. They're down to 19, taking a lot of casualties even still from the archers. So much attrition going down on this unit. I think he's going to go for the catapult. This is a really good choice. it might even be worth it. It might even have been worth it to lose a lot of that unit. So he's going to go for the catapult, taking out the siege. Oh my goodness, taking out the siege equipment of the attacking forces here. Looks like one of the catapults has already gone down. I'm not too sure how. Maybe from some counter artillery fire from the defenders. But it looks like this catapult unit here has taken a lot of damage. They're down to 2, so he has effectively silenced this catapult. Yeah, I think it was one of the catapults of the defenders coming over the wall here in a really great shot, taking out one of these catapults. Awesome play from the Rune and Herod player. This is huge. They've really managed to stick it to the attackers. But one of the Sylvan Elf player, I believe, still has artillery, and the Gondor player still has his trebuchet. So they have managed to penetrate the walls of the defending units, of the defending forces here, and they're going to start to move into the city really quickly. They've got a lot of options in terms of their siege towers here, but it looks like one of them did go down to the artillery fire. So the Rune and Herod player, I'm really impressed. They're doing a great job at shutting down the defenders, and they haven't even begun to move out of their starting positions yet. Let's take a look over here. It looks like Gondor and Amelin pushing his forces forward here. I think they're kind of holding position. Looks like he might be using the siege towers here as cover for his units, because he does know that the dwarves have 2 units of archers over here, which they might be using to pepper these forces as they come in. But it doesn't look like there's a lot of movement on this side. Both forces kind of holding ground, staring at each other. I think. Oh wow, another breach going down in the walls. And you can see so many of the Hashari were not pulled back in time by Joe Sheridan. It looks like he was distracted a little bit elsewhere, so he is going to lose a lot of his elite archer companies to what is essentially a micro mistake. But yeah, not too much going down over here. These forces really seem content to just kind of stare at each other for now. Even the Khazad Orc Hunters not in range to attack us. There's not a whole lot going on this front. So let's take a look over here. Looks like more forces have sallied forth. No, this is just one of his remaining units of Variag Cataphracts. The attacker. Oh, he's got another one that came back. I think these guys routed, but they are coming back from routing. So these swordsmen here charging this unit. It looks like Axeman of Erebor has lost his micro on these Variag Cataphracts, so they're not really doing a whole lot right now. So these Eldarinway swordsmen charging into battle, going to be able to wipe out these Cataphracts. Though maybe it's part of a plan. Maybe he doesn't have any more use for these guys, and he wants to get some arrow fire in on these now clustered up Eldarinway swordsmen. And it looks like they're taking a little bit of friendly fire as well from their own arrows, as well as the arrows coming in from the defenders on the wall. Not too many though. Some pretty light casualties. Looks like a couple of swordsmen went down. One of them got fricasseed here by the fire arrows. You can see that burnt corpse. Yeah, so these Variag Cataphracts going to rout. I'm not too sure what's going on here. I really would try and keep these guys moving, but not a whole lot of movement here on the part of the Elven players. They seem content for the moment to just kind of bombard the walls. And honestly, I guess they don't have a whole lot of choice at this point, because it looks like these are the these would be the Sylvan Elves. Most of their towers are gone, and looks like they've retreated a lot of their army. They're looking really beat up at this point. They've pulled their troops out of range, having really taken a beating from the defenders and their artillery and their archers up on the walls. This is a really, really great play on the part of the defending players. Oh wow, look at this. Oh, so lucky, soaring right over the head of this infantry block. Yeah, it looks like he's content to leave these here, just kind of as a shield. This intact siege tower here blocking an attack that might have very well hit his archers or his Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen, who are already very depleted. Looks like Rune using what's left of his cavalry to try and silence this artillery piece, but honestly there just weren't enough of them left to really do a lot of damage. So the Sylvan Elf player is going to hold on to his artillery, and I think that that's going to be really important for the attacking players, because they just need to open up more breaches in these walls, because their means of ingress are very, very limited by that incoming artillery fire on the part of the defenders, and because so many of their siege towers have gone down already. These are really irreplaceable. Oh my goodness. I don't think they hit anybody. Good idea on the part of the Sylvan Elf player, shielding his troops in behind these siege towers. Let's see what's going on over here. It looks like the High Elf player has abandoned these siege towers. He's just kind of content at the moment to hold his ground, not get within range of the defending archers on the wall, or within range of the artillery that the defenders are conserving inside of the first ring here. Yeah, these Variag bowmen haven't seen a whole lot of action. I think if they were to push up with their heavy infantry, they would be able to open up a lot of breaches here, although they are heavily outnumbered, so that maybe that's why they're hanging back for the moment. Oh dear, there goes another Sylvan Elf siege tower. I wonder if if these catapults here get destroyed, if the Sylvan Elf player can man the High Elven catapults. Probably not, but I think that would be a really cool little thing for little cool detail, I think. Yeah, the defender's not having as much luck silencing this catapult unit here. A lot of their shots are falling short or flying right overhead. So it's really RNG when it comes to your catapults. Sometimes they can do a lot of damage and just really be a useful unit. As you've seen over here, you can see a lot of dead siege equipment, a lot of dead troops. But sometimes you just don't get the hits, and then really it ends up being a wasted unit slot. Let's take a look here. Let's see how damaged this wall is. Looks like it's just about ready to collapse, and the Rune player leaving his Camel Shadow Bows on the wall. He's trying to get them off there before this wall can be damaged any further. This is good. The Rune player really paying attention to what's happening with his bows on the wall. Doesn't want to lose his units like what happened to the Harad player here. You can see a lot of dead Hashari shadows, and this is not how you want to lose those units. Oh look, another Sally. The Rune player taking what remains of his cataphracts. I think he's going to go for the High Elf, or for the Sylvan Elf catapult. I hope that Esquire sees what's going on here, because he does not want to lose these guys at all. Looks like his archer is beginning to open fire. They can see these guys, and they're going to have an opportunity because there are very few of these cataphracts left, and they are probably quite wounded at this point. So if he can gun these guys down, get enough shots off on them with his archers, he might be able to stop them from getting into his catapult, but it doesn't look like he's going to have the time. A lot of these units are going down. Oh no, but they are going to make it in, but I think they are wavering. So oh wow, a lot of catapult crewmen going down, and looks like some friendly fire coming in here, so he's going to lose a lot more catapult crewmen just from that alone. But he did manage to repulse these very high cataphracts. Things are really going difficult for the defenders, and this is why, as I said earlier in the battle, you do want to consider bringing maybe one unit of cavalry so you can defend your forces from relentless cavalry attacks like this, because sometimes the defenders will bring them, and this is what they will do to you. It really causes a lot of chaos, and right now the attacking forces in the west here, their lines are in chaos, taking a lot of artillery fire and a lot of cavalry charges, but I don't think we're going to see anything else out of cavalry. The Southron Lancers are gone, and I think both units of the Runic Cataphracts now completely destroyed. But the Defenders Infantry Force looking really healthy, and they have a lot of numbers because they brought so much very numerous light infantry. Oh, look at this. The Harad player Joe Sheridan brought his catapult into the gap here, giving him a much nicer range of fire right into the Sylvan Elf artillery piece. This is pretty big. Let's take a look. Let's see if he manages to take out this artillery piece. I hope not. I hope for the sake of the attackers that they manage to hold on to it. Looks like he's switched from the flaming ammunition, because his normal ammunition is reasonably more accurate. They really want to silence this artillery piece because that will give them a huge advantage, especially once they move into the street-to-street city fighting. Catapults well defended in choke points, and there's a lot of open choke points in Osgiliath. If the defenders, or the attackers rather, can hold on to this artillery piece and bring that into the city, they can potentially deal a ton of damage to the entrenched defending forces. And obviously this is a situation that the Harad, Runic, and Dwarven players want to avoid. Looks like Joe Sheridan might be giving up on attacking that artillery piece for now, or he might be trying to reposition it. Not too sure. The catapults are a little bit cumbersome. Yeah, they're very cumbersome beasts, difficult to maneuver. So I think he might be pulling them back, though. At this point, they've got enough means of ingress, I think, into the city that they might consider manning one of these siege towers. And it looks like that's what they're doing, in fact. Sabo and McTavish using this as a shield. This is a very good idea to bring some of his heavy troops onto the walls. And at the same time this is going on, the High Elven player bringing what remains of his siege equipment forward. So they're going to attack the defenders on all of these different areas here. And we saw this in one of our previous sieges. It's very difficult to defend all of the ramparts all at once, especially when the defenders have so many means of getting into the city. They can keep you busy in so many areas, and really just kind of break your thinly spread lines. So let's see what goes on here. Looks like the dwarves, these Custody Room Reclaimer, is going to move into a good position to put some flanking fire with their throwing axes into the Elder Ringway Swordsmen, and that would be absolutely devastating. And you can see flanking fire coming in from the archers on the inside of the first ring. These Elder Ringway Swordsmen taking a lot of damage, really only defended from the front. But I think once they get in here and once they get up into the walls, it's going to go a lot better for them. But I would pull back what remains of these Hashari Shadows. Joe Sheridan doesn't seem to care too much about these archers. Oh, looks like we have another cavalry force coming out here. I forgot about the Ironfoot Wargoats. I don't think this is the best target for them. Honestly, these these Smiths of Ergen have a lot of armor and they have 2 HP. It's going to be difficult to run them down in a single cavalry charge. And if you get stuck in melee with them for a long time, they are armor piercing, so it looks like victory, distinct possibility for these troops. So this is probably not the best use of Bull's cavalry, but at least he's trying to stop these units from getting to the walls. Because if they got up there, they would do a lot of damage to these Cats Reclaimers. So maybe he's just trying to buy some time for this unit up here to use some of the throwing axes, but it looks like they might already be out of ammunition. Oh, nope, there they are, pulling out the throwing axes. Looks like they're going to throw them down into these troops. He's pulling back. This is really good coordination. Looks like he's pulling back his cavalry just as these guys are winding up. So honestly, good job on the part of Bull. I think I might have misjudged him a little bit. Looks like he used his cavalry to hold these guys in place so that he could throw some axes down into this Smiths of Ergen unit. Very valuable heavy infantry. And get some easy early kills on them. Really great job on the part of the defenders. I'm so impressed with them right now. That is shenanigans. I mean, that's really great for the defenders, but that went right through the wall. I call shenanigans on that right now. Let's see what we got here. It looks like these swordsmen kind of changing their mind a little bit. Are they? I don't think they're routing, but they're just kind of leaving some of their comrades behind. Changing their mind. I guess he's got a little bit of a different idea of what he wants to do with them. Maybe he wants to throw them into these locate camp rim, which might be a good idea. But hold on, let's take a look over here. Looks like the Gondor player is moving up his ram. Finally, the Gondor player, Anna Melon, moving in to engage the dwarves and keep the defenders busy all at once. This is really good coordination on the part of the attacking players. They are all going in together, and that's a mistake that I do see sometimes in siege battles, is that when attackers will move in, not all of them will go in at once, and I think that is a big mistake because it allows the defenders to concentrate their forces and push back your allies, and that can really make it a big problem for the attacking force to get into the city. So great coordination here on the part of the attackers. Really, both teams doing a really good job with the cards that have been dealt to them. The attackers had a really hard time in the early game. Those cab charges really relentless, and I don't think that they were really too prepared for them. I mean, Esquire brought a unit of cav, so he had a good idea that maybe the defenders would bring some cavalry and they would try to cause him some problems. But the High Elven player was really defenseless in the face of those cavalry charges, and he ended up paying for it with his artillery piece. Let's see what's going on here. It looks like these swordsmen have changed their minds. Looks like, oh, look at this, the Corsair warriors boarding the siege tower of the attackers. Wow, this is crazy. I think we might see a little bit of a slaughter on the inside of this tower here. This is honestly a situation I've never seen before.
Our men have done well.
It looks like Gondor is now into the city. They are ready to push into these checkpoints here, but it's going to be really difficult for them. I think, yeah, look at this. They are kind of trying to fight each other on the inside of the siege tower. That is just so cool. But look at this. The Rune player. I think he might be trying to... Oh, I see what he's doing. Oh, no. Disaster. Absolute disaster for the attackers. The remains of that Mithlon noble unit getting cut off. Looks like he managed to get most of them onto the wall, so that's really good for the attackers. I mean, the losses were minimal, but it's just so bloody for these guys. And look at this, Axeman of Erebor. It looks like he's trying to flank the attackers. This is really good, really aggressive play on the part of the defenders. I think it's really going to pay off for them. But unfortunately, they have a lot of their archers outside the wall, so it looks like this is going to be a misstep, because now this Loki Camp Rim unit is isolated and really vulnerable to arrow fire. I mean, they do have shields, so they are going to get a bonus from the rear, which is where they're being shot right now. But this is going to turn out to be, I think, a really big mistake for the runic player. But still, I really appreciate the aggressive play that is just so good on the part of the attacker, of the defenders. It was a good idea, but unfortunately for him, the archers were prepared for it. A big line of Sylvanov archers. So Axeman of Erebor, realizing his mistake, going to recall what remains of that Loki Camp Rim Spear unit. But so many of them have died out here, just so many. Looks like Hashari Shadows. I'm not too sure what they're doing out here. This might be a miss micro on the part of Joe Sheridan. Yeah, I think he was coming out to support his ally, but I don't think he realized that his ally would pull back so soon. So it looks like he's seen what's happening, so he's going to pull his Hashari Shadows back in here before they take too many casualties from the archers out on the walls. Let's look at this. These Corsairs, I think this might have been a mistake on the part of the Corsairs. I mean, as cool as this is to see, close combat, close and prolonged combat with these Elder Runway Swordsmen, not going to be great for a light infantry unit. Looks like some more of the Swordsmen charging in to this gap here, taking down these Loki Camp Rim. I mean, as outnumbered as these High Elves are, it says that the balanced force is evenly matched, but as outnumbered as they are, these guys, I think, are going to cut through these spearmen like a hot knife through cheese. But the defenders are well prepared. They have a lot of reserves, some Corsair Savages, really light infantry, but high attack AP units. So good for mowing down a unit like this. These low number, heavily armored units, especially they can attack them in the flank, and that looks like that's what's going to happen. Because as more that these high elves push forward, the more that they expose their flank to these Corsair Savages. So I think that these swordsmen here are going to eventually be pushed back, and they're going to lose the entire unit unless they get some reinforcements really quickly. But it doesn't look like any are going to be forthcoming. A lot of them are sitting over here, and looks like these are archers, and they're going to be taking some incoming arrow fire as well. They're going to open up another breach here. The Elder Runaway Spearmen bringing up a ram. Really good job on the part of the attackers, not letting the defenders concentrate their forces in too many choke points. This is keeping them busy in all kinds of places. So really good job. I'm not sure whose general that is. All I can see is people's feet. I think that it might have maybe been the High Elven general. I think it probably was. So I think the High Elves have lost their general. That's a bit of a loss for them right here. The Sindar Blade Master says that victory is a distinct possibility for both sides, but I think it's going to go to the Blade Masters. They have better fatigue, they have better basically everything at this point. So as the High Elves go in and try to break down this gate, they're trying to pepper this light pikeman unit, which is a really good idea. These guys, not a lot of armor and no shields, so they are very vulnerable to missiles. So a great choice on the part of the High Elven player. Look at this. Some Elder Runaway Spearmen. Looks like they came in from, I'm not too sure where they came from, possibly from that siege tower right there. But they're pouring in here to support. I think there's some swordsmen in here, or maybe that's just one unit of spearmen. But they are surrounded, but fighting what looks like light infantry, archers, and a depleted unit of the Locate Gamp Rim Spearmen. I think this is the unit that was outside previously. And at the same time, arrow fire pouring into these blobs of troops. So the attackers really gaining the advantage here. I think they're going to start to have the upper hand pretty quickly. These spearmen, heavily armored, very good against all these units. A lot of light infantry, they're trying to swarm them, but honestly, I think that the spearmen are going to take that engagement.
The battering ram has done its work.
Yeah, the High Elves are now in and able to open up another front for the defenders to have to deal with, and I think they're having a hard time. But it looks like the Corsair Savages, like I said, pushing in here, and these Elder Runaway Swordsmen being pushed back. So this front is going to open up for the defenders, but I don't think that the Runa Harad players are going to push out any farther and try and flank these other positions, because they are essentially locked in place by these Elder Royal Guard. And a lot of these towers here have been silenced, and there's no more. Oh goodness! And there's no more archers up on the wall. So aside from the catapult that's taking some shots at these guys, these units are really just, they're able to put a lot of pressure on the defenders, almost completely unmolested. So this is a really tough position for the defending forces. They are very vulnerable to those missiles. Like I said, they have a lot of lighter infantry forces. These Hashari Shadows, they do have 2 HP, but not a lot of armor. These Camel Shadow Bows, again, not the best armored. So this is a really bad position for the defenders. Like I said, they're thinly spread lines beginning to be punctured. Oh, look at this. The Sylvan Elf player, I didn't see this. This is a really good flanking and envelopment maneuver on the part of the Sylvan Elf player. These Southron pikemen really getting caught out, surrounded on all sides by Sylvan heavy swordsmen. This is really bad for this unit. They are going to get completely annihilated, I think. So that oh, look at this. The attackers and the defenders really staring each other down. I don't know if Sabon's Mutava sees this. Looks like he does. So he's going to get a nice charge here. And these guys very, very bottled up. So he's going to be able to surround them with a lot of these troops. Even though he is outnumbered, if he gets to surround them, he's going to deal a lot of damage to these guys. These clansmen not going to be able to stand up to all of these heavy swordsmen. This is going to be a really, really tough engagement for them. What you want to use these guys to do, these light clansmen. Sorry, I can't talk today. But you want to use them as support, and you want to use them to kind of complete encirclements. You don't want them to be encircled themselves, especially by heavy infantry. This is going to be really bad for them. It says the victory is almost certain, but you know what? Don't believe it. These swordsmen here, they're going to do a lot of damage to these guys. It looks like most of the rune forces have been pulled out of this area. We've got a unit of, oh yes, Harad has another unit that I didn't see. Like I said, it's a very large map. They're very spread out. But they do have a unit of Naru Royal Guard, which I neglected to mention earlier, and they're kind of isolated. They're just kind of sitting out here, and it looks like some of the dwarves might be moving some forces into this area. I think they've seen kind of how thinly they are deployed on this left flank, so it looks like the dwarves moving in some troops here to bolster this area, and possibly launch some flanking attacks into these Hiri Lang and these heavy swordsmen. Looks like, yeah, Sabos McCavish can see he doesn't want to lose too many of his troops, and he really wants to put a nail in the coffin, the final nail in the coffin of this engagement here. She's going to bring in a almost full health unit of Huey Lang, and now these guys are completely surrounded, and honestly, they're going to break soon. You can just see how many of them have died. Just a wall of these light clansmen here. This is a really bad position for them to be in, and some of them are starting to break. This is really bad, and with their friends fleeing, these units are going to break as well. Still very healthy, 122, and they're going to rout right into the Sylvanel forces, so I don't think there's going to be too many of them left. Yeah, look at this. There was 48 just a second ago. Now they're down to 12. It's going to be even less than that by the time they get clear of all of these swordsmen. Yeah, this is really bad. The defenders having a really hard time. They were really strong in the early game, but the attackers really starting to regain the advantage. Oh, looks like the Sons of Durin have been committed to the fight here, but they're having a hard time against these Sindar Blade Masters. There's a lot of Sindar Blade Masters in this area, and looks like some of the Elder Palace Guard moving into the flank of these Corsair Savages. They've taken a lot of damage fighting these heavy infantry corps over here, but they are going to do so much damage to these Corsair Savages. Look at them die. Yeah, look at that. You cannot go toe-to-toe with the Elder Palace Guard for very long. You really need to surround them or try and whittle them down with artillery or even cav charges. They are a spear unit, I believe, but yeah, some cav charges to soften them up can really be a good method of dealing with them before you move in with your heavy infantry. But yeah, so many of these Corsair Savages dying, and they're just really out of position here. They're kind of getting sandwiched, it looks like, between the attacking forces. So right in this area, you can see a lot of attackers. Looks like they pushed some more high elven heavy infantry into the battle. Looks like there's some swordsmen in there, and they're really starting to squeeze the defenders. So honestly, at this point, it might be time for the defenders to cut their losses and try and pull back to the inner circle here. Looks like trying to get some catapult shots here. That would have been really devastating if he'd managed to get a shot into the center of these Norrie Turner archers. But he could stop these guys. These guys are still bottled up. If he takes the spearman unit really quickly, he could move them into these archers right here, and he would deal a lot of damage because the Norrie Turner archers not well armored. Oh, they are so lucky that happened. And it looks like they're going to move in to flank these savages. So it looks like the rune player, Axeman of Erebor, being kept busy in so many different areas, and that is a strategy that you can use against your opponents. If you think that you can out-micro them, you can do exactly what the attackers are doing right now. Just keep them busy in so many places, keep their attention so thinly spread that they won't be able to counter some of your sneakier movements. And honestly, I think that's what happened right here. Oh my goodness. Look at this. He's Norrie Tierno. We need to take some shots from that catapult. Honestly, I think this is a mistake. These Corsair Savages were losing heavily to these Elder Palace Guard. It would be a better idea for you to move your archers into here and to try and silence this catapult, because right now they are very exposed. Very, very exposed. This whole front here is exposed to catapult fire, and these catapults almost undefended, so he can move in there and deal a lot of damage to them. Look at this. Oh, they've gotten so lucky so far, but I think Esquire sees what's going on, so he's going to take some of his Elder Royal Council. These guys are archers, but essentially they are heavy infantry, and he's going to move them into this catapult and try and silence it. Looks like this is Rune's catapult over here. I don't know what happened to the crew. Honestly, I didn't see it, but I think that they have been annihilated. Let's go take a look over here. It looks like Gondor trying to push in. We haven't had too much of a chance to look at these guys. He's moving in with his Haven Guard and his Wardens of the White Tower, pushing against his Axemen of Erebor, and they're trying to move out against them, but honestly, this is a mistake. You want the attackers to come to you so that they will blob up inside of this choke point, and you can surround them. But at the moment, these Axemen of Erebor are being surrounded, so the defenders having a really hard time here. And yeah, but these Axemen of Erebor, they're being surrounded, and this is really bad for them, because they are going to be cut down like crazy, because there's so many really good units from the Gondor player in here. So Anamelin really pushing hard. Looks like he brought his Citadel Guard up here into all of these Ironfoot Guard, but it looks like the dismounted Swan Knights that he sent in along the Citadel Guard, these guys really got wiped out. Looks like some Runic Loke Flag Rim up here as well, fighting against all these Gondor units, but they are just being tread underfoot under the iron heel of these Gondor forces. But there is a unit of Castamir's Chosen up here. Looks like this is where the Harad player has deployed his forces. Like I said, the attackers are really keeping the defenders busy. And I think they will be able to push back here at their Wardens. They are no match for the Castamir's Chosen. Yeah, you can see the victory is certain. These guys are going to do really well against these guys, and I think they might even be able to push into these Citadel Guard Spearmen units, because these Ironfoot Guard, they are losing. They are being flanked and kind of driven back. But I think they're going to do enough damage to these Citadel Guard Spearmen and to these dismounted Swan Knights, who are already very depleted, that once the Castamir's Chosen wins this fight, they will be able to push these guys. But how long that's going to be, I don't know. Gondor might have time to move in reinforcements in the meantime.
Half the enemy force remains.
Oh dear, so it looks like the Pardon me, looks like the Harad player can see what's happening. with these Axemen of Erebor here. So he's gonna, oh, pardon me very much. He's going to move his troops into this area. He's going to hold position because he wants them to come to him. This is the only way that he's going to be able to beat this force, is to surround them completely like this. Pardon me. Didn't want you to hear me snort and cough anymore. Looks like Gondor really having trouble at this gate here. This is, I think, much more heavily defended by the dwarves, and it looks like the dwarven forces do outnumber the Citadel Guard. It says that defeat is certain for them, but honestly I think that this is a fight that the dwarves are going to win. So the Gondor player having some success up here on the walls and over at this gate, but he is being pushed back here. But it looks like he's trying to bring some J.R.R. wardens into the flanks of these Ironfoot dwarves. These dwarves have a lot more stamina, and these guys are going to start out surrounded. So this is going to be a pretty tough fight, I think, for those wardens. But there is quite a lot of them, so they might be able to break the dwarven lines here. But did I see some routers? Yes, I did. The Citadel Guard. It says that they're supposed to be routing, but morale is so high in 3rd Age Reforged that even routing units won't run away. So there you go. I wonder what became of the Naru Spearmen. I don't think they're over here anymore. It looks like Harad might have drawn them back. I think that might be them right there. Nope, it looks like some archers coming up. Here they are. I'm pretty sure this is Harad's bodyguard unit, pushing back some Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen, but they have taken about half casualties. These Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen, they are not as good, I think, as the Hiri Lang, but they are cheaper, and they are really good throwaway units that you can use to wear down enemy forces, and of course they are armor piercing, so they're definitely worth it if you are trying to go with a budget army, or if you really want to focus on numbers with your Sylvan Elves. These Hiri Lang still locked in combat with the Axemen of Erebor. This is a very even fight, but I think that the numbers of the Sylvan Swordsmen is going to play against the dwarves, and it looks like they are actually losing. So yeah, they've got probably about 20 or 25 more units than the dwarves do, so this is going to be really tough for them. And it looks like more clansmen. It looks like some of the clansmen might have routed and been able to escape, or he had another unit that I didn't see. They're pushing into battle here against the Elder Royal Guard, holding them up around the catapult, I believe, of the dwarf player. But I think all the defenders' artillery at this point has been silenced. I think it was a mistake not to pull these back and to try and use them to bombard the attackers and choke points. Oh, never mind. Looks like Rune does still have his catapult. So you see, that's exactly what he's doing. Doing a great job here, trying to conserve this artillery piece, because honestly, at this point, if the defenders want to take this, they are so low on numbers at this point, and the balance of power is so skewed in favor of the attackers, that they're really going to need to use this catapult to, like, perform a miracle, essentially. But I don't know if they're going to be able to do it or not. What we got over here? Some Khazad Orc Hunters. This is not what... Oh no, the Harad General! Looks like a... I think that might have been a misfire on the part of the runic catapult. Maybe, yeah, that might have been what happened. I don't see what artillery piece sniped them. They were over here. Yeah, I don't know what that was. But it looks like the Harad General went down, and that's a really big deal for the Harad player. He's now Royal Spearmen, now taking a lot of casualties as they are being surrounded. You know, I think it might have been a misfire on the part of his ally, who was probably trying to get at these Hiri Lang, who have now butchered those Axemen of Erebor, but ended up taking out his allies' generals. So that's really unfortunate. So the defenders have really flooded in here, but they have taken a fair amount of casualties. You can see a lot of dead troops in and around this area, but they really did a good job of regaining their footing after some really, really devastating early setbacks because of the aggressiveness of the defending players. I really like to see this, and this is, I think, something that you should take into account in your battles. When you are an attacker in a siege battle, use the defenders' walls against them. So Balin doing a really nice job at getting a good position for his Elderunwy archers, and it's really open in this plaza, so he can deal so much damage to these troops. So those Khazad Orc Hunters were, I think, his target, and yeah, there's pretty much nothing left of them. I don't think the defenders have... I don't think they have a hope or a prayer left at this point. There's really not a lot of them left, and those that are left, I think these Castamir's Chosen, still doing pretty well, pushing against these Swan Knights and these J.R.R. Wardens, beating them back like I said they would. But there's just so many of the Gondor forces left that they're really not able to accomplish very much, and they're being pinned down right now by these forces when they could really be using that choke point over there. And it looks like the dwarf player trying to sally forth, but I think he's making the same mistake twice. And his Harad ally is following him on his downward spiral into the pit. And they're surrounded by these Haven Guard. It says that defeat is a distinct possibility, but I think that's just because of how many of them recently poured into the area. So these Haven Guard are going to start to beat them back. If you look, I think it's going to say that victory is certain for these forces. because these Haven Guard are not to be trifled with. They are amazing units, and we've seen it in a lot of battles. They can really, really turn the tide of an engagement. What do we got up here? It looks like Anamelon using the walls against the dwarf player. I think he might try and pepper these dwarven forces down here. And looks like they did manage to push back these Tirith Wardens, going really poorly for Gondor in this area. So a small victory for the defenders, but I don't think it's going to be enough really to turn the tide of this battle, which is firmly in favor of the attacking forces. Let's take a look over here at the gate. It looks like these guys are being pushed back, so the balanced forces evenly matched, but those Haven Guard, man, you don't want to underestimate them because they will do a lot of damage. And it looks like it doesn't really matter anyway who wins at the gate, because the attacking forces over here in the west were almost completely victorious. I think that there's no defenders left in this first ring, so that the attackers are pushing into the town square, and it's only going to be a few minutes now before the defending forces crumble.
The foe has taken control of the castle.
Yeah, there you are. Looks like Balin pushing into the square, taking the square from the defenders and really putting a lot of pressure on them. And this catapult crew, there's really nothing that they can do. You can see more and more elven forces pouring in. I think that this is pretty much it for the defenders. That being said, though, especially in the early stages, I think they did a really good job. But like I said, they were really thinly spread out here, and trying to fight with all that light infantry against, like, straight on against heavy infantry, I think was the mistake that really cost them this battle. It would have been better for them to try and fall back into here and maybe use their catapults to try and get some easy kills up on what would have been blobbed up enemy units. But honestly, it was a hard fight for them, and a lot of that I think had to do with how much light infantry that they had versus how much heavy infantry the attackers had. Looks like we have one of the admit defeats. I'm not too sure who that was. Yeah, I think this is the defenders completely admitting defeat, realizing that the fortress of Osgiliath has been lost to these attacking forces. But honestly, I think they did a great job. You can see Harad getting a ton of kills, and the attacking forces were a lot smaller, especially Sawbones McTavish's force. So a lot of these are going to be elite kills as well. And I was really impressed with the dwarf player. The shenanigans at the front gate with his cavalry unit when he used them to pin down those Smiths of Eregin, and what looked like what he was trying to do was pin them down for a moment and then pulled out his cavalry as they were throwing down their axes. I think that was a really great move. So fantastic job on the part of the defenders, very aggressive, really, really good job on the part of the attacking forces who managed to regain their footing. Let's take a look at the casualties here. Look at that. The Sindar Blade Masters, I told you they are very strong, and they recently got buffed. 200 kills on one of them, almost 200 on the other. 301 kills on those Elder Palace Guard. They took a lot of casualties, especially from the cavalry in the beginning, but they really came back and did a lot of damage to the defending forces, rather. So that's it for the battle. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in, I think it's going to be a tournament battle coming up next, though I'm not too sure which one. So stay tuned, and I'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye!